Wings that once bore hope are now stained with blood. She is our guardian no longer. Grete, Cathar Apostate. Welcome, humble adventurers, to my realm of knowledge and mystery. Here, in my cursed library, are endless tomes and scrolls on the darkest and evilest foes in all the realms. Be they from Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, the many worlds of darkness, or any realm in between. Welcome to the Dastardly Decimal System. I'm your caretaker of the corrupt, the librarian, Castor Cain. Every world has monsters, be they humans or abominations, but every world also has its protectors. Some are police, others are soldiers, and more still are warriors and mages. We count on them to uphold the laws, protect the innocent, and balance the scales between good and evil, and right and wrong. But what happens when our protectors turn to the dark side? What happens when they become the very things that we need protecting from? What happens when we call out for help and nobody answers? Grab a seat, adventurer, because the tea is ready. I have brewed Angel Water Herbal Tea. It is a soothing tea with a subtle flavor that makes for a sweet and mellow cup of tea. A soothing beverage is in order as we talk about the fall of the Archangel known as Avacyn the Purifier. Avacyn is an angel, and the most powerful of her kind. She has alabaster skin and a stunning pair of eyes, each with ivory white irises and black framing ovals. She had a large set of white, lustrous wings and silvery white hair that seemed to tinge with orange and red hues in the moonlight. She wore black stained armor over her dark clothing. She carried with her a long, silver-colored moon-silver spear, carved at the end in the curved symbol of her church. This was the spear of Avacyn. With it, she could channel her magic, strike far swifter than her foes, and even command the flight of angels. Due to her artificial nature, Avacyn was a distant soul from both the mortal men and women and the rest of the angels. Other angels could not sense her like they could with their own kind, thus creating a social rift. And while incredibly benevolent to all humans, she could hear each of their prayers. She finds them still difficult to understand and can't comprehend the things they do, like smiling. Avacyn was always uncomfortable with performing this act. She never understood its purpose. And why did humans always speak in such extremes and riddles? She could watch an adult go from fear over a lost child to angrily scolding them in the blink of an eye. Why? Because of this, Avacyn always found herself the most comfortable around children. Their innocence and earnestness made it easier for her to comprehend them. There exists a multiverse of magic with a near infinite number of realms that were built upon the 5 aspects of mana. Each of these different worlds were called planes. Some planes were technological empires built on magic and science, while others were forest worlds filled with rampaging kaiju. Some had cyber-feudal dynasties with ninjas and samurais, while others had a magical university where only the wisest and most powerful mages went to study. And others still were made up entirely of one gigantic city. Each plane was vastly different from the one beside it, but sadly, there was nearly no way to travel between these worlds. However, there were those blessed with the mystical power known as the Spark. These planeswalkers had the ability to break the rules of the multiverse and travel from plane to plane, visiting new worlds whenever they so chose. This leads us to the vampire planeswalker known as Sorin and his home plane of Innistrad. Innistrad is a gothic world filled with horrors where humans struggle to survive. powerful clans of vampires seek to rule. Howl packs of werewolves viciously roam the land. Ghosts and geists terrorize the innocent, and mad scientists seek to create new horrors to accompany the already frightening number of existing ones. All of this while demons seek to gain an ever-growing foothold. It is a world where humans are few, and their extinction is all but guaranteed. That is, until Avacyn was created. Soren Markov was a vampire and a planeswalker. He was a powerful sangromancer, and was very, very old. He was also a logical soul. He looked upon his home plane and began to see a problem. Humans were dying out. They were being hunted by almost every monster imaginable. While he had very little sympathy for his former species, forsaking them for vampirism, they were the source of food for all vampire kind. If the humans died off, the vampires would be left with no food and would be forced to turn to cannibalism, an act that would cause their own destruction. Like the few remaining swimmers in an overfished sea, humans would have to be protected. Much to the anger of the rest of the vampires, Soren used his great magic to create a new angel and a magical prison. This gave birth to Avacyn and the creation of the Hell Vault. From the moment of her birth, one word rippled through the angel's mind: protect. Flashes of images assaulted her newly awoken mind. A world draped in autumn and blood, and the predators poised to ravage it. Vampires and werewolves, demons and zombies, geists and devils. Each foe was seared into Avacyn's mind, into her very identity as a threat needed to be fought and destroyed. Images of humanity were next. Mortals of every shape and size, each defined by a frailty and devotion. Over time, Avacyn's understanding of the word grew. It was more than simply protect. It had evolved into a declaration for humanity, a mission, a calling. It had evolved into protect them. This concept was Avacyn's very essence. Avacyn descended on the plane and instantly took control of the other angels. United, they fought against the monsters and began to push them back. They slew vampires with holy fervor, thrashed the howl packs that overwhelmed the towns, banished the malevolent geists, and incinerated the unholy ghouls with piercing light. All the while, a church of humans developed, allowing Avacyn to turn their faith into greater magic and strength for the battles to come. Humans across the plane would pray to Avacyn. This would be known as the Church of Avacyn. We pray to Avacyn on high. On snow-white wings fearlessly you fly. Keep safe our souls, keep safe our lives. May angels watch us from the skies. Soren knew that the darkness of Innistrad could never be banished, nor did he want to. But with the help of angels, he could protect the humans and create a balance between light and dark. This was the equilibrium. Innistrad is a dark world, and through darkness comes a whole brand of magic on its own. So when the monsters' numbers began to dwindle, all this dark magic was there for the taking. All this dark magic was there in a vacuum. Demons arose to fill the vacuum. As Avacyn and her angels turned their focus towards the demons, they discovered a frightening fact. When a demon was slain, their energy would reform into either the same demon or a new one. No matter how many they slew, the demon's numbers would never diminish. This brings us to the second of Soren's creations, the Hell Vault. Fashioned from a chunk of Innistrad's silver moon, the Hell Vault was an angular monolith that stood above the province of Thraben as a symbol of their protection. The Hell Vault was a magical prison. What cannot be destroyed must be bound. Using the power of faith and proper rituals, Avacyn and her angelic hosts caused the evil creatures to be drawn into the Hell Vault and imprisoned. This campaign continued until there were more imprisoned demons than there were freed ones, and until only a handful remained. One day, Griselbrand, the strongest of the demons, landed atop the Hell Vault and challenged Avacyn to a battle. These two powerful beings battled for days, out of the view of all, except to only the highest-ranking church members. Neither angel or demon could best the other, but in a desperate act, Avacyn used all of her remaining strength to force the demon into the vault, trapping him with a divine binding spell. However, as his final act, Griselbrand thrust his blade into Avacyn's chest. The binding spell backlashed and Avacyn got dragged in as well, locked in the Hell Vault alongside all of the demons she had put there. The final words of Griselbrand etched into her mind. What cannot be destroyed must be bound. With Avacyn trapped, her divine light began to fade. The church tried to keep her disappearance a secret, but the effects were beginning to be felt. The Howl Packs became more vicious, and the vampire's reach began to rapidly grow. Without Avacyn, the humans were once again fearing for their lives. The equilibrium was shattered. In the multiverse of Mana, each plane exists on its own path, with its own issues, and continues as such until a planeswalker shows up. They tend to be the chaos that tips the scales of balance. Even those with good intentions tend to be disturbers of the peace. Few planeswalkers are more agents of chaos than Liliana. Now she is a story all onto her own, and a long one at that. But the cliff notes are this: she is a necromancer who will do whatever it takes to survive today, and will deal with the consequences tomorrow. When she was a child, on the brink of death, she made a deal with 3 demons. Decades later, they were calling in their debts. In order to avoid that, Liliana was hunting them down, one by one, and with the aid of a powerful artifact, she was destroying each of them. Griselbrand was one of these 3 demons, but being locked away was not enough for Liliana. She had escaped her own prisons. She needed him free so she could destroy him, but she could not do it herself. She too feared the power of the Hell Vault. Instead, she found a high-ranking guard of the Hell Vault named Talia. Liliana began a brutal campaign, corrupting, psychologically torturing, and threatening to kill her friends and kin, until Talia destroyed the Hell Vault. With this act, demons and monsters poured out of the prison, but so too did Avacyn. The protector of humanity had returned. Avacyn's return was a blessing for the humans. She first casted the Curse Mute, a powerful spell that cured the werewolves and turned those willing into the Wolfir, a divine pact of warriors that served the church. The Curse Mute rippled through the lands, dispelling most of the world's foul curses. More shockingly still, for the first time in almost 6,000 years, the vampires were in retreat. If Innistrad used terms like Golden Age for humanity, this would be it. But this would not last. One day, after saving a lost child and returning him to her mother, a violent shimmer suddenly racked Avacyn's body. Everything in front of her doubled. The trees, the mother, the child, and even each individual blade of grass. It doubled and then doubled again, and then doubled after that. Pain assaulted her and forced her to her knees. Nothing had ever caused this much pain towards her. Not vampires, not mages, not even Grizzlebrand. What was this? Eventually it passed, but it left a soft buzzing in her ears. A constant low hum that neither raised or lowered in volume. It just stayed there, an off-tonal accompaniment to the prayers whispering in her head. Suddenly she felt tense around humans, like her defense was always needed around them. This was the same manner she felt in the presence of monsters. The reality was that a planeswalker by the name of Nahiri, again, another long story, had begun a ritual that would corrupt the mana of Innistrad and eventually allow a Titan to enter the realm. And since angels were creatures of pure mana, they too were feeling the sting of this Eldrazi corruption. For days and weeks, this ever-growing feel of unease stayed with Avacyn. New thoughts began to form in her mind. The seeds of men were rotten. It made sense when she laid it out like this. She slew vampires, werewolves, zombies, witches, necromancers, and devils. Why? Because they destroyed things. They pillaged, they consumed, they committed violence against the land with the sole intent of sowing chaos. But so too did humans. She had seen humans beat other humans. She had seen siblings betray one another for money or for a spouse or out of pure jealousy. She'd seen kingdoms of humans go to war against each other. Humans didn't need monsters to kill them. They could take care of that on their own. And worst of all, after all she had done to protect them, to stop them from becoming an extinct species, some humans even dared to doubt that she even existed at all. The seeds of men were rotten. She would have to purify the seeds. She needed to purify all of Innistrad. Suddenly, deep in Avacyn's mind, it all became clear. She fought monsters. Those that opposed her obviously wished to fight her. Therefore, those who opposed her were obviously monsters, regardless of their species. And their pleas for mercies were like vermin crawling from their mouths. Avacyn descended on a village and brought fire to them, burning away the corruption that now existed within the humans of Innistrad. The holy light that she had once used to protect the people was now turned into a divine flame in which she smote them with. Now her eyes were fully black, so dark that they seemed not to have any light at all. In fact, they looked as if they consumed the light around them. Her wings were now stained red with fire and blood, and her staff, the once symbol of the Church of Avacyn, was now blackened by the Eldrazi corruption. Upon hearing of her fall, Sorin returned to Innistrad. Avacyn viewed him little more than yet another monster and tried to slay him. But for some reason, none of her spells would work. Nothing she casted would affect him. Why? In a moment of doubt, she cried out in confusion. It was only then that Sorin revealed that Avacyn was a being of his creation. For a moment, the shocking news seemed to dull her insanity. For a brief tick in time, she saw clearly once more. She felt the sins she had performed and could finally visualize the flaw inside of her. A flaw that Sorin had created. Madness returned as she blamed Sorin. He had created her. Therefore, he was responsible for the flaw. This meant he was responsible for the lives she had taken. And any who had killed as he had needed to be slain. Avacyn called upon a host of angels to destroy him. But still, the ancient planeswalker survived. Avacyn called upon more of the Eldrazi corruption, allowing it to change her magic, to change her physical being, and allowing her to finally hurt Sorin. The two battled, using sword and spell, spear and cantrip, but Sorin managed to get the upper hand. He knocked her through the chapel roof and plummeted her through the floor, forcing her into the cathedral vault, the place that she called home. Sorin offered to heal Avacyn, but she refused. If she was not the daughter he wanted, then they would fight again and again and again, because she would never see him as anything but a monster. Left with no choice, Sorin unraveled the spell of her making. As she faded away, Avacyn's last thoughts echoed into Sorin's brain. I am Avacyn. I am to protect. Faith is a tricky thing. In so many places, in so many worlds, in so many planes, it is a power beyond that of normal magic. The gods of Theros only exist because the mortals have faith in them, a secret that they keep very close to their chest. Avacyn herself was able to channel faith into the powerful light that supported the humans of Innistrad. So what does that mean for Avacyn? After her unmaking, her faithful still believed, many of whom made holy symbols out of wood, straw, twine, and clay. Many more still prayed to her. The angel, Sigarda, has done her best to step into the role Avacyn once held, taking on some of their prayers and faith, but many still pray to the fallen angel. So while it is undeniable that Avacyn is unmade, will she still stay that way? If faith can sustain a dozen gods, could it also return Avacyn to the realm of Innistrad? She was once created by a powerful spell. Could the power and magic of faith recreate her once more? And if she did return, a being no longer under Sorin's spell, would she return as Avacyn, the Angel of Hope, or Avacyn, the Purifier? It seems that our tea has once again run dry, which means so too has our time. Join me again in my library for more stories and lore about the darkest villains from the darkest realms. This has been the Dastardly Decimal System, and once again, I am your librarian, Castor Cain. Do you love the Dastardly Decimal System and want to support us? Check out our new Patreon. Members will get access to show notes, official artwork, our new bonus episode series called Cleaning Up After Tea Time, and of course, plenty of cat pics of Vega voice actors, Vash and Zid. You'll even be able to suggest a topic for a future episode. Check it out at patreon.com/Dastardly Decimal System. If you're not financially able and still want to support us, suggest the show to a D&D loving friend. It really helps us get noticed. The Dastardly Decimal System can be found on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at DD System Podcast. That's Delta Delta System Podcast. Drop us a message and say hi. Vega always loves the attention. This podcast was produced by Midnight Reading Audio, a division of Midnight Reading Publishing. The voice of Castor Cain is Larry Gent. Hi. The voice of Vega is provided by my cats, Vash and Zid. Music was Crying Angel from Pixabay and Abandoned Creatures by Noru from Pixabay, licensed under the Creative Commons. Thank you, and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.